Just exactly what the CDC says, don't ever leave your house again. Yeah.
So here you came today.
Should've
That's
gone to
fantastic.
the call.
Yeah, so I mean, but the idea of getting in an airplane and flying down to Florida, then getting on a cruise ship, you know, it's not exactly my
No
idea
way.
of self-protection, yeah.
Well, we're gonna go to Florida and not get no sick, but.
They're all on sale right now.
What?
They're all on sale right now.
They
Oh,
would
yeah,
just
you can
die.
get
We are ready.
airline tickets
Um,
really cheap.
Before we officially call to order, I have for Latrice, a letter, and an award from the city. Dear Latrice, congratulations on completing 5 years of service with the city of Davenport. Through the dedicated efforts of employees such as yourself, we are able to provide citizens of Davenport both essential and enhanced services that constantly improve the quality of life within our community. As a token of our sincere appreciation of your work, we are presenting this pin, which signifies the number of years you have served the citizens of Davenport. We look forward to your continued efforts. So, congratulations.
Where did you get this?
I got it from the mayor's office.
Oh, I was curious. Well,
They contacted me and thought that it should
You
probably
get a
come
letter?
from the commission.
but this isn't my 5-year anniversary, so
Oh,
that's why I
well-
was
Is it
confused.
past or early?
It's long past.
Oh, it's
Well,
long past.
Perhaps
It takes a while.
Making up for lost time, yes. So I will call this
Yeah.
meeting to order. Ruby, would you call roll, please?
Sure. Gaston,
Here?
Carp,
Here,
Mateos, me.
Yeah.
Pecora,
Here.
Swanberg.
Here.
Good, how are you?
Should I call them?
The agenda needs to be approved. I would entertain a motion to move up the place of the next meeting to
So moved.
the first,
A second.
let me,
Oh.
Yeah,
to move the next meeting to council chambers.
So
The
moved.
following meetings.
The following meeting, yes, April.
Well, I mean, I can say that I'm not gonna quietly sit by and let you have a meeting. I mean, we have court proceedings going on here to decide who is the proper commissioners. And I just wanna put it on record
not
for any reporters that are here,
So,
that, the whole idea that it was
So
reported
is there any
that the
discussion on the
mediation
motion?
was,
I'll second that
Failed.
motion.
okay.
was not true, not accurate
Any
at
other
all.
discussion?
I
All those in
promise I'm
favor?
not gonna be quiet, I mean,
That motion-
enough can go tell everybody I was really mean
Pass.
and angry, but.
aye,
Aye.
Aye,
Okay.
aye,
So the
aye.
next meeting will be April 14th, and it will be held in council chamber.
I thought at the last meeting, we decided we weren't gonna meet and waste everybody's time, and everybody agreed on that.
We didn't agree anything with you.
I didn't say with me, you guys are the
I
ones who
didn't
brought
read
that up.
anything.
Do we
like
feel
that.
that we can approve the minutes of
There's-
the July?
There's one here for July.
And as I recall at the last meeting, that those had not been,
Anyway, like I was
had not
saying,
been.
we mediated with the Department of Justice, we were in mediation.
And I don't know,
Nobody
what do
had
we think
turned
about
down
whether
any
we can
kind of
ever
offer
approve
with
those?
the
I mean,
mediator?
Since,
we
So-
can't, none of us,
Then
you
in
know.
the- then
only-
you two-
you
Then in
vote
the
to-
newspaper it was
probably
reported that it was a
Yeah,
failed
it's-
mediation.
it
They
may be
not
up to
in
you
good
guys.
faith
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
to mediation.
What's
you
your thought
have-
on it?
What they did
Are they
was 2 days
approvable?
later, while we
Seem
were
to
still
be-
The
mediating,
changes
they
were
filed a lawsuit, the
requested.
city
I
filed a
don't
lawsuit.
see any
What do we do?
objection.
They want you guys
Yeah,
to think that we weren't trying to work things out, but we definitely were.
On the other hand, I don't know that it makes much difference, given that no other actions were taken.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, I guess I would entertain a motion to accept them as
Sure,
submitted.
as amended, as proposed in the December minutes.
They're trying to run
Do
a
I have a
meeting, even though we
motion
have a
to that
lawsuit from the mayor
So
and the
moved.
city against us to
Second.
decide who are the
Any
commissioners.
discussion?
But they think that, you know, they can just go ahead and
All
have
those
a
in
meeting.
How
favor?
can we discuss?
And I was
the
just
minutes that we
clearing it
have?
up with the reporter.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In the newspaper, it reported that we,
Yeah.
if mediation failed with the Department of Justice, that was not accurate. Nobody turned anything down with the
And
Department
so,
of Justice, we were still mediating.
The
And 2 days
December
later, the city
minutes are
filed a
not on
lawsuit
the
against
agenda.
us.
I will
While still
certainly,
meeting.
It is. It is in there.
And
It just
Janelle,
doesn't
you know,
have
was
the-
involved in this because she signed an
the
affidavit
date,
2 days
and that's
after
not on the
the first
agenda.
meeting.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Well, it's
So
in the
Which I
packet.
have.
I would entertain a
Right
motion
here.
that the December minutes be on the April agenda for approval.
Yeah,
So moved.
second.
So take it to
They
April.
filed an
Yes.
injunction to have you removed from the meetings,
Yes.
correct? So where's that at?
Any discussion?
We have a court date.
I think it's March 26th, we have the
Those in
date.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ooh, Sorry, trying to
So-
keep up.
We'll have the December minutes
Yeah.
on
Who's the
the
first and the
April
second number?
agenda for approval.
2 meetings going on.
And hopefully we'll have minutes from today.
No, we haven't been recognized, so we don't have meetings
They're not
like,
recognized.
we're not human beings, we're not sitting here.
So,
These are people at the bottom, and they're acting like this is ridiculous.
No.
What are they, what
Directors'
business are they
reports.
conducting?
They
They're
think they're
conducting
conducting a
commissioners'
legitimate
business.
meeting.
I think we either do that or we just say we're
Adjourn.
tabling everything
Yeah.
else and
Yeah.
adjourn.
Latrice, are you
Well, it was
prepared
like-
to make your director's reports today since they're on the agenda?
I think we should maybe not be doing anything since there's a court action filed. Because if it hasn't been determined, I mean, I'm fine with going through it just for the public that's here, but I don't know how we are making decisions and there's been a court action filed to determine who the proper commissioners
Well, I guess
are.
my thought is that
So-
going through your director's reports would be something that we could do since we're all dressed up and here, and we
Right.
wouldn't be taking any action.
That's what I just said.
So can you present your reports?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Thanks.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever it is, I'm listening. Which one do you have there?
I guess we'll start in June.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand though, because,
Huh?
A lot of them will be the same.
but we also have to accept your director's report, so unless, I mean, it needs to be clear that you're just doing this for the public, because to me, this meeting is not going on. And I strongly oppose that.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, I think with the action being filed, because it was my understanding that we weren't having any more meetings until.
Yeah, I didn't think we were,
their
I thought we
decision.
were at a cease and desist thing, so I was surprised when I got a notice that you gotta come to the meeting. I thought it was just over until March 26th.
So in June 2019, we didn't have any right to sue letters. We had a housing case that settled in mediation involving disability discrimination and failure to accommodate. That settled for $225 and relief in the public interest.
Can I ask you just a question about that, just if you don't feel that it would be revealing too many facts? Was it based on something that the landlord could just change a policy about, or was it a physical change to the rented premises?
That was almost a year ago. I have no idea what that specific case was about. We worked on our back-to-school event, and we had a Fair Housing Initiatives case transfer. So we're working with HUD on that. We're working on litigation involving our case that went to the US Supreme Court. We're working with counsel on that case. Worked with commissioners on potential training topics relating to civil rights law, common law, ethics, and process-relating topics. We have met with complainants, going over intake questions, training for new commissioners, and our annual report. Attended the FIPA conference.
And can I stop you a second? Who would the new commissioners have been at that time?
The people who had been appointed
It was,
in April.
it was me, Lee, oh, am I right?
Not Lee.
No, it was
Michael
Lee came
Leando.
in.
Michael
News at that
Leando. Yeah,
time,
okay.
or Michael,
Henry.
you.
Yeah, thanks.
Here in Lynn.
We worked on our year-end closures for HUD. Oh, there's a typo there. Worked on the MEI report, getting the data in for that. Our housing analyst worked on the housing inquiries and investigations. Prepared and transferred cases to HUD. litigation appeal for our old business is a housing case that was appealed up through the Supreme Court, then appealed to the US Supreme Court. In July of 2019, we had one right to sue letter issued. Oh, there's another typo. It's been during the work of July, during the month of July, one employment case settled in mediation, and two settled in conciliation. So the first case that settled in conciliation involved discrimination on the basis of sex. Relating to an allegation that the complainant was subjected to sexual harassment and subsequently terminated because of her gender and replaced by a male. That case settled for $9,500 and relief from the public interest. The next case involved allegations of race discrimination. The complainant alleges that she was reassigned because her employer's customer didn't want to receive services from the complainant because of her race. That complaint settled for $8,000 and relief from the public interest.
What does that mean, that last phrase?
What do you
In
mean?
relief of the public.
Relief
interest.
from public interest.
Public interest.
It means that something is done that impacts all people, not just the person who filed the complaint.
And would that, excuse me, Latrice, would that sometimes be like changing a policy or paying would paying a fine fall under that? Or paying some sort of restitution or?
We don't sanction fines from people,
So it would just be a change in policy or practice, right?
something that impacts everybody.
Mhm. Thanks.
The case that closed in mediation related to allegations of race discrimination. Complainant was subjected to racial slurs and subsequently terminated after complaining about the discrimination. That one settled for $15,000 and relief from the public interest. We worked on our back-to-school event. We worked with HUD on the fair housing case, with our litigation. Met with DOJ, conducted BCRC harassment training, reviewed the decision on the litigation regarding the commissioner's status. I met with our data committee for the opportunities for Flint City and collaboration. I participated in conciliation. Worked on a litigation issue with the housing analyst, attended the civil service meeting, who continued to work on the MEI report. The housing analyst worked on housing investigations and inquiries, prepared and transferred cases to HUD.
So Latrice, do you attend civil service meetings all the time or just when there's an allegation?
I'm a civil service commissioner,
So you attend all meetings?
but when I'm available, yeah.
Uh-huh.
We had no right to sue letters issued in the month of August. One employment case settled in mediation in the month of August. That case involved allegations of pregnancy discrimination. That settled for $5,040 in relief from the public interest. Worked with HUD on a fair housing case, worked on litigation. Met with HUD administration to discuss regulatory changes and proposed program changes. Met with the HUD investigator, director and housing analyst, attended EEOC harassment training. Director, investigator, and housing analyst attended the Region 7 HUD conference. Reviewed the City of Davenport's application for interlocutory review on summary judgment decision and the litigation regarding the commissioner's status. Worked on a litigation issue with our housing analyst. We attended the IORA conference. We worked on our back-to-school event. The housing analyst worked on housing investigations and inquiries. And he prepared and transferred cases to HUD and worked on case resolutions and started to train a new mediation coordinator.
Can you tell us about the back-to-school event?
What about it?
What is it?
We do a back-to-school event every year. We started out doing an event called Peace of the Parks. So it was, the city has started doing it now, but it was an event where we would, it's a fair housing event where we would try to get people in the community together to come to like almost like a block club at local parks. And then the final event was a school supply giveaway. So we do a school supply giveaway every year.
Thanks.
And we meet with community members who collaborate with us, and we collect school supplies
Yeah.
and we give them out, school supplies and clothes. We had one right to sue letter issued in the month of September, 2 housing cases settled in conciliation in the month of September, and 1 employment case, and 2 housing cases settled in mediation. 1 housing case involving allegations of disability discrimination relating to a denial of tenancy. This case settled for $1,500 and relief in the public interest. The next involved allegations of disability discrimination regarding a failure to accommodate. That one settled for $3,500 and relief in the public interest. The employment case involved allegations of sex and race discrimination relating to discriminatory statements made in relation to a termination. This case resolved for $8,016 in relief in the public interest. 1 housing case involved a failure to maintain accessibility features. This case resolved for a new process for handling notification and resolution of accessibility concerns and relief in the public interest. The second housing complaint involved allegations of disability discrimination regarding the failure to accommodate, and that one settled for $300 in relief in the public interest. I worked with HUD on the PAR litigation. We developed our EOC, I don't even know what that word should be. It's weird. Our EEOC 2020 engagement plan. So we got that submitted. We participated in community outreach activity. Worked on case resolution documents and litigation issue with our housing analysts. We worked on the housing analyst worked on housing investigations, inquiries, and preparing and transferring cases to HUD, case resolutions.
And do you remember what that outreach activity was?
I participated in a community activity over at the King Center where they were doing outreach to unhoused people. One right to sue letter was issued in the month of October. 1 housing case settled in conciliation in the month of October. It involved allegations of disability discrimination. That case settled for equitable relief and relief in the public interest. Conducted a housing training pursuant to a conciliation agreement. Met with the HR, worked on litigation. Attended the League of Civil and Human Rights Commission meeting. Conducted a presentation for the League of Civil and Human Rights Commission's meeting. Attended the BSC meeting, met with the ICRC director. Me and the housing analyst worked on HUD contract documentation. Worked on case resolution documents. Worked on litigation with the housing analyst and council. Worked on the housing analyst worked on housing investigations, inquiries. Prepared and transferred cases to HUD, worked on case resolutions. New business was staffing. We had a staff member who had gone out in the month of October, and she's recently passed away. No right to sue letters were issued in the month of November. We had 1 employment case settled in conciliation in November, A case involved allegations of disability discrimination and settled for $46,000 in relief in the public interest. The director and secretary participated in the fiscal year 2021 budget review. Attended the BSC conference. I met with HR again. I worked on litigation. Met with Mayor Mattson and Commissioner Greenwald. Met with community members. The director and the housing analyst attended a co-sponsored event with the Davenport Library on the Native American perspective on Thanksgiving. We're planning a Black History Month presentation for a co-sponsored presentation for the Davenport Library. Participated in a community planning discussion on upcoming DCRC trainings.
Okay. That's, I wasn't mayor, but that's it. In November.
I guess it was incoming or mayor-elect Mattson.
Mayor Mattson. Yeah.
Except he wasn't technically mayor till January 1, right?
Yeah, so it should be mayor-elect.
Yeah, not that that's a big deal, but
Okay.
just to clarify.
It's October.
No right to sue letters were issued in the month of December. We had 3 employment cases that settled in conciliation in December. 1 public accommodation case settled in December. The employment case involved allegations of race discrimination, settled for $250 and relief from the public interest. We had 1 employment case involving race discrimination that settled for $16,000 and relief in the public interest. Another employment case involving race discrimination that settled for $1,000 in relief in the public interest, race discrimination and retaliation. Then we had a public accommodation case involving allegations of disability discrimination, and that was settled for $525 in relief in the public interest. I met with members of Progressive Action for the Common Good to discuss possible collaborations between our office and their group. Worked on litigation, met with community members. The investigator and housing analyst attended a planning meeting with the Davenport Library on an upcoming Black History Month presentation. Me and the housing analyst planned follow-up events for the Black History Month presentation in collaboration with the Davenport Library. We participated in a community planning discussion on upcoming DCRC training. We had 2 right to sue letters issued in the month of January. 1 employment case settled in conciliation in the month of January. That case involved allegations of race discrimination and settled for $1,500 in relief in the public interest. I met with Janelle. I met with Janelle, Rabbi Carpin, Richard Pecora. I met with our EEOC monitor. I attended a CLE on protecting electronic data. Worked on litigation. Worked on the upcoming Black History Month presentation, follow-up events. Conducted an employment training pursuant to the mediation settlement. I met with HR. Met with Mayor Mattson, Janelle, Rabbi Carp. Met with Mayor Mattson and Janelle again. I met with community members. The director and the housing analyst met with Mayor Mattson and Scott Vanderwoodson to discuss affirmative action items to create a more inclusive community, to work on the NEI deficiencies. I attended a conciliation. The investigator and the housing analyst attended a follow-up planning meeting with the library about the Black History Month presentation events. analyst, worked on investigations, housing investigations, housing inquiries and case resolutions.
So, number 17, was that the training that Richard and Rabbi Karp and I attended with you?
No. I think that's number 3,
So what was number 17?
a different
Oh,
training.
you conducted the training for somebody else
Mhm.
in the community.
Mhm.
And I imagine under new business, the staffing, is that still continuation of filling that position for the person who ultimately died?
Yeah, that we're understaffed, so we were not able to fill the position because there is no funding to fill the position, so it's just an open position. I think the February director report has fallen off.
It looks like the written part is in the packet.
Yeah. This probably should be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it, director, second page. of the-
Oh, it's at the beginning.
It's the beginning.
So we had no right to sue letters issued in the month of February. 2 cases that settled in mediation in the
I
month
don't
of
seem to
February.
have it.
For February, I don't have.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
And it's the second
the-
page
you know,
of the
second page of the packet, yeah.
One public
Oh, it's up at the
accommodation
front?
case.
Up in the front.
I got you. Thank you. There we go.
Involving allegations of disability discrimination, failure to accommodate, settled in mediation. A case settled for equitable relief and relief of the public interest. One employment case involving allegations of disability discrimination, settled during the month of February for $9,500 in relief from the public interest. I met with Dr. Adams and Dr. Royson to discuss potential collaborations for community mediations. They do some of our mediations here in the office. We worked on messaging for sexual harassment in housing. That's going to be the Fair Housing Month initiative from HUD. And then we also have well, I don't know if I can discuss that publicly. We got our conversations on racial equity and media bias presentations finalized. Those are the ones that we're doing with the library for the Black History Month. We conducted the Black History Month presentation, conducted employment training pursuant to a mediation settlement, and met with Human Resources. The director and the housing analyst met with community members to discuss affirmative action items for creating a more inclusive community. So after our meeting with the mayor about things that the city can be doing to have a more inclusive community, we took our action items and met with community members to see if we could figure out how to bridge that gap for the city's deficiencies there. The investigator and the housing analyst attended a follow-up planning meeting with the library for the upcoming presentations. The director and housing analyst worked on Fair Housing Month activities, so figuring out things that we can do for Fair Housing Month. Yeah. The housing analyst and investigator worked on education and outreach initiatives. The housing analyst attended the housing cluster meeting. He worked on investigations, housing inquiries, and case resolutions. And then our HUD staff update is we were,
Could you maybe just kind of go through the old business items and just kind of explain what they are?
recap is the Davenport Community Advisory Panel. So that's the panel that the commission is a part of. that is reviewing racial profiling by the Davenport Police Department. So they were updating the initiatives and figuring out when they were gonna do the 2017 presentation of data. They still don't have that figured out yet, so that's just been floating out there. The litigation appeal was the appeal of the case to the U.S. Supreme Court. It has been remanded to the commission and has been awaiting action since October. Our FIPA contract is our contract with EEOC. ICRC is our contract with the Iowa Civil Rights Commission. Staffing is the issue that we just discussed.
Thanks.
Our HUD FAP update, there were partnership funds available, and we were told about them. We've since been awarded $10,000 in partnership funds.
Is that about the same as every year, or does it vary a lot?
They don't have them every year.
How often do they have them?
It just depends on the appropriations they get
Uh-huh.
from Congress.
And is that gonna help at all with the staff vacancy?
No. That staff person doesn't do housing pieces.
Well, thank you. Well, unless there is something else that you think we can do at this time.
I have something to say. I mean, I'm all for getting this straightened out in the litigation, but I do not appreciate the fact, and I don't think Helen nor Nicole nor Clyde appreciate the fact that we've been painted as the bad guys. We are not the bad guys. We're not wearing black cowboy hats and you guys wearing the white hats. We're all in this together. We've tried to work this out together, and obviously that hasn't worked. When all this transpired last year and a half ago, basically, there was a big hullabaloo with the city council, with the mayor trying to take over the commission, and it goes back to a lot of that. And then he was trying to get rid of the three of us so that he could stack the commission with people he wanted. I'm sorry, my trach is making noise. But we are not the bad guys, and I want people to know that. I stuck into this, and been a whole lot easier to bow out and not receive all the ridicule, all the comments from people around the community and around the state. Because I'm involved in some other things, and I've heard all kinds of negative comments. And it would definitely been a lot easier on myself personally and my family to have just stepped by. But in all fairness to the community, I couldn't do that because my principles are strong, and I firmly believe the people of Davenport need to be represented with people that were of their equal, their class, that understood what was going on. And that we're not the bad guys, that's all I can say.
Thank you.
Well, and all I can say is, again, Susie, I think we are all, we all have the interests of the citizens of Davenport in mind, and we appreciate your service, we appreciate your commitment,
I have something
and
to say after
luckily, this is
Don't
gonna be
pack yourself up
decided in
yet.
court, and as I've said all along, it is not personal. It is not personal.
I have something to say next. First of all, it's never gonna get out there that we're not the bad people. It'll never get reported fairly when you have the editorial board of the Quad City Times encouraging criminal action on us and everything else. It's never gonna get reported fairly, so, I mean, it kinda is what it is. Second, couple different things. I also wanted it noted on record here that in this, motion for temporary injunction, it specifically says, Bree Biasco Ledger was not reappointed following the expiration of her term in November 2019. At the time, Mayor Frank Klipsch appointed 4 people. So that's just saying that I was recognized as a commissioner all the way up till November of 2019, and I was not allowed to do the job that I'm here for. Third of all, you stormed out at the last, you came in and you said, we're not having a meeting, and you stormed out. They heard what I had to say at that last meeting. I have some questions. You can answer them, you cannot, but for public transparency, there's a few questions I have. How many times have you met with the city legal department regarding the proposed lawsuit?
I can't say.
Do you need to count?
I certainly don't stay away from the city attorney. I don't feel that there's any problem with current commissioners meeting with the city legal department.
That's where you're
Okay,
involved.
wait,
it's
let
time
me
to-
keep
it's time to
going.
adjourn
Where
the
have the
meeting.
meetings
It's time to
occurred
adjourn.
and who else was present?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
You know,
I have a right to talk.
No, you don't.
Yes, I
well,
do.
we have the right to
Wasn't a
meet with the
meeting
city
anyway.
attorney.
Okay, so that didn't answer the question. Who was present?
At
I mean, was there
various times.
more than one of you? Was there enough that it was a open
It was-
meetings
there was
violation?
never an open meetings violation, no.
What did you guys discuss about? I mean, you led us into this mediation with the Department of Justice, thinking that we were all walking in there in good faith. I went there with an open mind. I never told them no about anything. I said, give me a minute to think about it. Talk to my attorney. The last I'd heard, we all had never said no. And then all of a sudden it's blasted to the media that mediation's failed and I get hit with a lawsuit at my job. So obviously there's somebody here that did not walk in there with good faith. I would think it was probably you because you did not meet with the Department of Justice at that time. And I have a signed affidavit from 2 days later from you,
Well, I certainly met with the mediator.
a week later after the lawsuit was filed.
And, well, my understanding was at the meeting in,
February
February?
19th, we met with the department. I met,
well,
she
but
met.
the Thursday meeting where we all met with the mayor.
No, I'm talking about the individual meetings
I'm
with the
talking
Department
about
of Justice.
if I may, I'm recounting back to the meeting with the mayor, when I think everybody at the table agreed that we needed the lawsuit filed. so
And then
that
the
we could come
department,
to-
so why did we even entertain, why did you all waste an hour and 20 minutes of my life I can never get back, thinking we're mediating and trying to work this out?
Well, I think Latrice, you can speak up
And even
anytime.
all of you
Latrice-
took your time, you're the only one who didn't show up, so that would make me think that you're the one who's in tight with legal.
I didn't show
Actually,
up for
there's
the meeting
there's a
either.
correction to that. Yeah, Janelle and Sue met with the mayor and mediator prior to any of us meeting.
I'm talking about individual meetings that the Department of Justice wanted with each
She
one of
was
us.
out of town.
But she conveniently made it into town Friday morning to sign an affidavit for this lawsuit. Okay, I believe you.
Well,
So,
I met with the mediator twice.
so I have a question. How can the legal department represent my legal interests and the other legal interests of various commissioners in this lawsuit? You know how many times in 10 years of me being on this commission that I've met with the legal department, even spoke with them? Zero. 0 times, never had to for no reason whatsoever. The only interactions
your
I had
choice.
with, we're an independent commission from the city of Davenport. So if
We're-
I'm running upstairs to legal all the time, how is that independent
We're
at
a
all?
commission of the city of Davenport.
We're an independent
And-
commission.
And we are independent in that
From
our
the-
decisions are not
So,
reviewed
so
by
can you
any
explain to me
political
what
body.
purpose would you need to go talk to legal for?
For legal advice about open meetings law, about the way that this,
If you guys
Commission
are
does its
commissioners,
business.
you have Latrice here to tell you what open meetings violations
well,
are.
Latrice has said that she is an expert, and I believe she is.
I'm pretty sure
on
she's an expert on open
civil
meetings
rights
laws.
But not necessarily on the other aspects.
Of open meetings laws?
being
I mean,
a commissioner.
I'm not even a lawyer, and I mean, we
Well, we
kind
can
of.
argue about this, but I see no point in it.
Well, I mean, I just had these questions,
Okay.
for
Okay.
public
Do any-
record.
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Any members of the community wish to address the commission? And would you please state your name and where you live?
Brian Winger, I live in Moline, Illinois. Chapters 21 and 22 of the Iowa Code, the Open Meetings and Records, or Sunshine Laws, attempt to ensure that Iowa government at all levels are as transparent and accountable to the public as possible. The first sentence of chapter 21 says explicitly to that goal of the law is to guarantee through open meetings of governmental bodies that the basis and rationale of government decisions, as well as those decisions themselves, are easily accessible to the people. The law also says that any ambiguity should be settled in favor of openness. In other words, there is a legal presumption that meetings of government bodies should be open to the public except in limited circumstances, spelled out in chapter 21.5. Even then, the law says nothing in this section requires governmental body to hold a closed session. Governmental bodies are required to give adequate notice of the time, date, and place of a meeting and post a tentative agenda, chapter 21.4. They must keep minutes of their meetings, chapter 21.3, which then become public records. Nothing should be discussed at a meeting that wasn't on the agenda unless there is an emergency item that can be deferred for 24 hours. A governmental body that wishes to hold a closed meeting must follow certain procedures, spelled out in chapter 21.5, including taking a public vote and citing which exception allows closure. Discussion in closed meetings is limited to the reason why the meeting was closed, and the governmental body must go back into open session to take any final action. Governmental bodies are not required to allow public comment at open meetings, though many do, and they are allowed to enforce reasonable rules to ensure meetings are orderly. Members of the public are allowed to use cameras and recording devices at open meetings as long as they aren't disruptive. I Googled that. It took me like 5 seconds, just so you know.
Thank you. Anything else?
Speaking of open meetings, I'm a little concerned as a member of the public.
And I'm sorry, your name and where you
My name
live?
is Laura Elena Rodriguez. I've met you many times already. I live in Moline now. I
Thank
can't
you.
possibly live in Davenport. This place is horrifying. Now, that being said, it's been brought to my attention that there was a online group called Quad City Friends. Among this group are all of you apparently sitting here at the table.
No, not me.
Not me. Long
Well,
story short, I have a
but-
screenshot of a post in which Janelle Swanberg, Lee Gaston, Henry Carp, Pocora over here, were all tagged in this post about Civil Rights Commission meetings and some business that should be public. You guys were discussing things that happened here, making that, by your own rules, a quorum. If you're all tagged in that post and participating in that post, and not all members of the public are invited or aware of the situation.
I've never heard of this.
That sounds to me like an open meetings violation.
Anybody can tag
I
anybody.
have screenshots,
Oh, yeah,
you're all
anybody can,
tagged,
yeah.
and you're all,
Who did the tagging?
I have no idea.
I don't know, but I have a screenshot.
I didn't tag- I didn't
have a
tag
screenshot
those
of it.
The fact I'm tagged in something on
Yes,
social
I-
media.
I don't tag anybody. I don't tag anybody.
Okay, then I have another question about open meetings. How did you all come to this discussion about moving our meeting over to the city council chambers if you did not
I'm
meet
the one.
together?
I'm the one who asked for that when it wasn't on the agenda.
How did they know about
Well,
it?
In
the
December.
mediator- The mediator had indicated to me when I met with him that everyone had indicated to him that we all thought it would be better if we met there, and we had discussed this before.
I very
didn't
highly
view it as a
doubt that
big
the
deal.
mediator is a liar, and he never approached that subject with me, so I
not
doubt
me
he
either.
told you that. And so how did you
Well,
know about it?
All I can
About
tell
the
you
what?
is what he told me.
Wanting to move the meeting over there and putting it on the agenda?
My very first meeting as a commissioner.
No, I'm not
I
about yesterday.
presented
Yesterday.
yesterday. I just found out today.
No, yesterday, you contacted the office and said.
I
thought we were
contacted the
moving-"
office?
Yes.
You better be careful what you say. I never contacted the office.
You
Okay.
did, you sent an email.
You sent an email contacting the office saying, I thought the meeting was gonna be over there. And there was
As a
another one of you.
correction, yes.
So how did you all have the idea together?
I did not talk to anybody.
It just came in your mind and thought, I thought the meeting was gonna be over there.
Because my very first meeting as a commissioner here, a year ago, I've already included that in the agenda, very first meeting, that the meeting should be held at the council chambers and not in this small room.
And just a couple meetings ago, I'm not sure off the top of my head which one, we talked about how you had to vote on it and stuff, and we never voted on it. So I don't think that
They
you,
voted on it when we came in.
I don't think that you assumed all of a sudden yesterday, hey, I thought this meeting was supposed to be over there. There was another one of you that also emailed the
Well, I
the
certainly
office,
did.
and you're the one who submitted it. So
And
there's three of you.
I emailed it
So
on.
there's three of you that knew that this so-called meeting was supposed to be held
We
over there.
had that discussion in the December meeting about moving them, about
And we said we
moving.
can't move the meeting unless it's on the agenda and we vote. It was,
We had that discussion in the December meeting, and we had decided that the January meeting would, because of the complications, would be here. But we, as far as I was concerned, that discussion was held, and my impression was that after December, after the January meeting, we would be meeting.
that is
in
not
the- in
factual.
the-
We said it had to be put on the agenda and you had to vote. If we never had a meeting where it was on the agenda
I think so.
and we
I think-
voted, nobody would assume that it was moved over there.
I
So,
didn't-
once
and-
again, when did you all discuss this?
We
I
didn't-
don't
we did
buy
not-
it for
we
a
did not
second.
discuss
Okay,
it.
keep lying. Just keep.
Okay, I have been gone for the past 2 months, so.
And so just out of the blue, all of a sudden, the three of you are like, hey, I thought we were having this from December, you remember this. Come on.
All right, well, that is
Come on.
your prerogative. It's okay. We can adjourn.
Anything else? If not, I think.
I would like to mention, the fact that 3 of the 5 of you all emailed about it looks like an open meetings violation. Because it seems like there was some conversation about it being there. And I think as an attorney and the attorney for the commission, I think I have a duty to report that to Mayor Mattson and maybe even IPIB, because that is, based on my code of ethics that I'm required to follow, that is something that it violates the law. And I don't want to be implicated in anything that, because what is occurring here is, I mean, there's too much confusion going on. Nobody knows what the heck is going on, but for that to happen, it seemed very odd. And if you all say you didn't talk about it, I mean, it was just odd though, because no one emailed back in January saying that they thought it was gonna be over at council chambers. No one emailed back in February saying that they thought it was gonna be over at council chambers. It's not until this month that there's an email saying that there's a perception that it's going to be over at council chambers, so that
I didn't
does
stop
create
and
an
look to see if
implication
it was over
that
there, cause I knew it was gonna be here.
it's going to be here. And the discussion that was had was that there had been a previous vote by the commission to not have their meetings over there, and there was extensive discussion about why not to have them, and that there needed to be a discussion about why you would want to move them over there and what impact that would have on the public. That has not happened to date. So that was my perception from it.
Well, and all I can say is I have had discussions with individual commissioners on a one-to-one basis.
But that's illegal. That's creating a conduit for a public meeting, and you and I discussed that you're creating, if you discuss something that is going to come for a vote before the commission with individuals, that violates open meeting laws, because you're still basically having an open meetings violation, because you're going to each person
I
and
didn't
having
go
that
to each
discussion.
Just admitted
You
that.
just said that.
I didn't go
I
to each
did
person,
not
I said
talk to
some individual commissioners. And again, I don't view this as a substantive matter of civil rights. I view it as where the meeting is to be held.
But it's
I
an
view-
item
I
to
view
be
it as an
voted on.
administrative
And that's-
matter that we have now taken care of,
That's
so
not,
that's all I can say.
it's an item to be voted on. The open
move we
meetings law
adjourn.
says that if it's something that
Is
is
there a
to be
second?
voted on. So am I not speaking?
There's nothing to adjourn, it was.
I mean, I know it's
I've never been with people who just been
Finish,
so
Latrice.
mean
Please-
and
please
so
finish your
rude.
thought.
And
I
all
mean,
these people are supposed to be middle of the cloth. It's awful. It's just god awful. And you are so bad. When we were over there with the mayor, you darn near tripped over yourself. Hi, come on in. You walked in here the last time, you walked by me like I wasn't even sitting, like nobody existed, and then you say,
Oh, yeah.
we're the bad guys.
That-
I cannot believe
Nobody said.
how
Janelle.
awful
I
you can
forgot,
be.
that was
called
part
the
of what I wanted to
question,
say to you
Janelle.
I
last
cannot
time.
believe that.
Janelle, I saw you at my caucus. You got about 5 feet from me, and
I
you
got
turned the
that.
other way.
Hi.
But in front of that mayor, you were tripping over yourself to shake my hand. Why not do it at the
And then
caucus?
like, when nobody was around to see except us.
It's
all a
I
show.
haven't
even met the mayor.
That's awful.
Yeah, you
That's
still
awful.
haven't.
And I can't imagine how you're gonna treat the public
wonder why.
cases if you treat us like this. It's
I'm from the
awful.
other side of the river and I know what decaf is.
Yeah. Well, I know because my husband's a part of it.
I'm
so-
sure they'll hurry up to legal and tell them how awful I'm just
Well,
such a
yeah, they,
horrible person.
I'm
I
standing there talking
I
to
just yell
Joe
at
up there.
Janelle all the time. That's what I hear.
I cannot believe that people be so mean and so two-faced, so. Just lie, just right here, people say something, they say, no, I didn't say it, you just said it.
They don't have answers for the hard
He
questions.
doesn't care, he's shameful, just like you.
They don't have answers for the hard